Thank you for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Jason Grenauer. Denver Public Schools joining a lawsuit filed by the NAACP seeking to stop Education Secretary Betsy DeVos from forcing public school districts to share pandemic funding from the CARES Act.
Secretary DeVos wants to send some of that funding to private schools, and the concern is that could disproportionately affect low-income students.
The head of the NAACP called DeVos' move a Robin Hood in reverse. Lance Hernandez has the details.
It is unconscionable for defendants to siphon away the CARES Act desperately needed funds for the benefit of more affluent private school students.
The NAACP filing suit.
What we're looking at here is a Secretary of Education carrying out her personal agenda to destroy public education.
To keep more CARES Act funding for public schools. Under the CARES Act, Congress appropriated more than $30 billion to help K-12 schools and colleges respond to the pandemic. It instructed school districts to set aside some of those funds for the benefit of disadvantaged private school students, the number of which is to be calculated in the same manner as Title I funds. But Secretary Betsy DeVos wants the money distributed to private schools based on the total number of students in each school.
While we acknowledge that private schools do serve some students from low-income households, we strongly disagree that public funding that is designated for our public school students from low-income households should go to private school students that are not bound by civil rights and anti-discrimination laws.
We believe that Congress's intent is to provide public funds to serve economically disadvantaged students. We believe that the efforts of the United States Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, and the U.S. Department of Education will do irreparable harm to those children and families unless stopped.
In a June news release, DeVos said there's nothing in the law Congress passed that will allow districts to discriminate against children and teachers based on private school attendance and employment. Her goal? To help ensure all students whose learning was impacted by COVID-19 are served equitably by CARES Act funding no matter where they attend school. Lance Hernandez, Denver 7.
And we are learning new details from a student survey sent out by Denver Public Schools. Chalkbeat obtained that survey and found the eagerness to return to in-person learning played out differently among students of color. 88% of white families who responded prefer in-person learning. 67% of Hispanic families and 65% of black families chose that same option. Now, DPS is taking all of this into consideration, announcing a 100% online restart on August 24th. The district will reevaluate its options on September 8th.